We are back for another edition of Good Morning to the Leader in You. We are so excited, for the conversation that we are going to have on today. We have our co-host with us, Dr. Leroy McKenzie, and we have a phenomenal guest that's with us on today as well. As we, progress through life, building our communities, building our families, building our businesses, the one conversation that we cannot neglect is planning for the future. And one of the ways in which we plan for the future is through life insurance. And we have a business professional here today with us this morning to share some information for us to have a dialogue. So, for those of you that are tuning in now, feel free to jump into the Facebook live stream and do what we always do. We connect, we conversate, we dialogue, we educate, we motivate. So we say good morning to you. We say good morning to your possibilities. We say good morning to your purpose. We say good morning to all those things that's going to be unearthed on today and the possibilities that you're still embarking on for the remainder of this week. Well, good morning, Dr. Leroy. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing absolutely wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing well. It's at the top of the morning. I start off with an early morning meeting, and we're going to just, flow into this because this is such a needed topic. And I want to take a moment to introduce our special guest, and we're just going to shoot right into this conversation. Mr. Ed Taylor, I actually had an opportunity to meet him through LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, I'm telling you, you will meet a lot of positive business professionals on there, forward thinkers, if you will. And that's how I actually connected with Mr. Taylor originally, and then had an opportunity to have a conversation. And through that conversation, it was apparent to me of the wealth of knowledge that he has as it relates to life insurance. And I know you see the backdrop, and it talks about, I want to touch on those last two words, wealth systems. And one of the things we're going to dissect on today is how to build that wealth within our family, our community, within our business. And one of the ways to do that is through life insurance. And that, without any further ado, I would like to bring on Mr. Taylor. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Catherine. And I like to say good morning to the listeners who are out there on this wonderful Tuesday morning. And again, Catherine said that we connected about a year ago on LinkedIn. She just called me and said that she happened to see my profile on LinkedIn, and we got to talking. And like she said, then we became business partners. I've been in the financial industry for 42 years now, and it is a wonderful industry. And she had mentioned life insurance, and life insurance means so much to us. And I like to share some of that information with you today. And something that many people are not aware of is life insurance controls 75% of America's wealth. That's right. Life insurance controls 75% of America's wealth. And when I mention that to people, they are very surprised because it's just a vast industry. And most of us, when we hear the word life insurance, we think about that when we pass away, we want to leave something to our family members. And unfortunately, that's the only thing that we are told about life insurance. So I am happy that more of us are starting to get into this industry so that we can educate the people who are around us, because life insurance, it means so much to colleges, college funding, just about everything that we do. Life insurance touches it, and prayerfully today, we will be able to expand your knowledge in this area. So again, thank you, Catherine.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being on this podcast today. Talk a little bit about the various types of life insurance. Let's start with that because we want to make sure, our viewing audience watching now, watching later is familiar. I know it's a not just necessarily like a debate, but sometimes it's term better than whole life and what's an IUL. Can you kind of break down some of these terms and what is your take on it?
Okay. First of all, just want to let you know that there are two types of life insurance. We have term and we have permanent. When we say term, it will cover you for a specific period, and there will not be any cash that would be available to you on term. That's a death benefit only. And most of us will have term insurance when we are actively employed. It's primarily the group term that we will get from a job. Permanent is the type that will build wealth for us. And the wealthy people, they know a lot about permanent. You will use the cash value for cash-free retirement. You use it as executive bonus plans. The wealthy use it for creating wealth, and the money will grow tax deferred. You will access it tax free, and the wealthy knows all about the permanent advantages of life insurance. You have mentioned a term of IUL. IUL stands for Index Universal Life. You would have whole life. Many of us are familiar with the term whole life. So again, the permanent advantages of life insurance, numerous. Many business owners, instead of using a 401k for their retirement planning, they will use either a whole life or an index universal life.
Dr. Leroy, you want to chime in? What are your thoughts on this whole conversation, Dr. Leroy, when we talk about planning for the future for ourselves, for our families, for our community, for our business? What are your thoughts on this topic today, dealing with planning for the future as it relates to life insurance?
No, Mr. Taylor, I want to ask you this, if you can. Can you talk about, because you mentioned it, and I never heard this before. Can you talk about the correlation between, you said college and life insurance? What does that entail? And then the second part of it is, can you talk to that 20-year-old, that 20 to 30-year-old that doesn't really understand or know the importance of life insurance and why it's important for them to begin to think about it in their 20s and 30s, and not later in life when you get in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, because we think we're so indestructible in our 20s and our 30s that nothing's going to go wrong, nothing's going to happen. But can you talk about those two things if you could?
Sure. With life insurance, we first of all we need to be healthy and we need to be insurable. So when we are 20 and 30, that's when we are at our primary health. And once you get it, it can never be taken away from you. One of the advantages of starting your protection when you are very young, simple, it's more time for you to have the growth of your money. When you're talking about 20 or 30, we have 45, 50, 60 years to get that compounding effect on the growth of our money. Once you get it, you can then add additional money to your plan. And again, the growth is tax deferred, and you can access all of that money tax free. We have a concept of becoming your own banker. And we say that because the larger banks, they own billions of dollars in life insurance. And the reason those banks own billions of dollars is because you can access that money anytime you want. You do not have to prove credit worthiness, and the money is available to you anytime. So again, when we get it in our younger ages, it's giving us the opportunity to have that compounding effect on the growth of our money. I like to tell my clients is that when the money is growing, one of the things that we get would be automobiles, we get homes, and we usually go to the bank and make those loans. Well, we say instead of going to the bank and make the loans, go to your policy and you become your own banker, and you get the money from yourself. And instead of paying a finance company, you pay yourself back. And that's becoming your own banker. And again, many folks in our community do not think like that because they were never taught that way of doing business. So that's what I really like to stress to young people. Let's change our mindset. One of the things that you hear about is as a community, we go outside of our community and get things. And I try to stress to people, let's no longer go outside of the community. Let's come to ourselves and become our own community bank. But we must start at an early age because, again, for all of the benefits, you have to be healthy in order to get this so that you can take advantage of it.
That's absolutely powerful. We want to give a shout out. Oh, I'm sorry. Just want to give a quick shout out to those.
You had also mentioned something about college. When you hear about college endowments, that's all through life insurance. Many of our major institutions, that's where they get a lot of their money through endowments. And again, it's backed by life insurance.
Okay. I mean, I think this is some valuable information that you just shared. Just want to give shout outs like we normally do. We have some people tuning in. Can y'all hear me okay? Dr. Leroy and Ed?
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
fine.
All right, so we want to give a shout out to author Angelia. She's such a great supporter of Good Morning and Leader in You. She's from the Texas area. Thank you for tuning in. And also, we want to give a shout out to Miss Esther. She was a guest of ours a couple weeks ago. She's actually in the Florida area, and she is a tax professional. Again, for the business owners that's tuning in, feel free to drop your business information in the Facebook feed, social media handles, your websites, what have you. Please feel free to do so, and then share this live as we are going forth and continuing with this conversation. Dr. Leroy, talk a little bit about, I know you have a nonprofit organization, you're heavily into the community. So what is your personal perspective on this topic on today of future planning as it relates to life insurance?
Well, I mean, these are the conversations that I think that, as Mr. Taylor said, that we don't have and didn't have growing up, and it's important for us to now have these conversations with our children, our children's children, so that they have a better and clear understanding of building legacy, wealth building, having a wealth building strategy, but as Mr. Taylor said, a wealth building system, which I want him to talk about because I think that is so important. So it's really, I think the more that we talk about it, I think hopefully the more our community will begin to understand the importance of it, and we'll see because we are too. If I see another one of our celebrities, and I'll put it like that, have a GoFundMe. If we you know, and we know it goes on in our community far too much, but we have to have these systems in place so that so that we can protect and provide for our not only not our future, but for our for the next generation's future. You know, we show them how to go about doing it because we've learned the things that need to be done, and we serve as the example. But we not only it's not only important to understand what we leave for them, but as I've heard before, what we leave in our next generation. And these are the types of things that we need to leave in them so that they understand um, what needs to be done, understanding the difference between a whole life and a term. What does that mean? You know, how does that work? So that they know, hey, I have this option, I have this option, these are the things that I can do, these are the things that this is what this will give me, this is what the other one will give me. And can they be intertwined, or can they be moved one after the other? All of those things that we need to learn. And even from a business perspective, as an entrepreneur, you have to have these things in place because if something happens, we never want to think about if something happens. Something can happen. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. So we have to be prepared, and we have to have these tools in place so that if something does happen, the business is taken care of. In spite of all of that. So I think it's vitally important that these conversations are done, are had more and more. We can't talk about them enough.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I echo that. I would love for Mr. Taylor to talk about what is building a wealth system. What does that mean to you, Mr. Taylor? And then also talk about, because I think what Dr. Leroy just mentioned about if someone has a business, Keyman Insurance is a very real thing for business owners out there. So part A, if you can talk about what does building wealth and what does a wealth system look like, and then part B, if you could talk about the Keyman Insurance.
Okay. Um, on my business card, it says building wealth and creating legacies. And sometimes we say if something happens, and I don't say if, I say when something happens, because something always happens. Whether our life is cut short or whether we're living a long life, we want to protect it. It's not only for the future, it's for right now. For an example, I asked people, I said, do you know anyone who's ever had a stroke and survived? Some hands would go up. I said, how about if anyone, you know anyone who's had a heart attack and survived? Some more hands would go up. And I said, what about anyone who's been diagnosed with cancer and survived? And more hands would go up at that time. And I said, so we're not just talking about for the future, we're talking about now. And then I asked the question, what would your life insurance pay to the individuals who had those things? And most people would say nothing because the individual did not die. And I said, that's correct. However, the policies that we offer, they have something that's called living benefits. So if something happened to those individuals that I just described to you, you will be able to access the benefits of your life insurance policy while you are still alive. And people say, what? I never heard of that. And I said, yeah, it is a new concept, but it's not really so new. I've been offering those type of policies to my clients since 1998. So that's almost 25 years ago. So those are the things that are out there and available to us that we have no idea of those plans being in existence. Keyman, but nowadays we say key person because there's no longer just the men in the workforce. You have to ask your question, ask yourself this question: if that individual is no longer here with my company, what will happen to my company? We need to have something in place so that our company will still be able to prosper. Also, when we're talking about a key person, that's how we can keep the valuable employees with us, because when they retire, now we can offer them a tax-free retirement plan so that you will be able to keep them with you instead of them going to see someone else. So key person and executive bonus plans, those things are very valuable so that we can keep our companies running not only now, but well into the future. Also, if something happens to us, many of the African-American businesses, if something happens to the owner, the business dies. We need to prevent that from happening, because the majority community, when things happen to many of their owners, their business continues to thrive. And the key reason that those businesses continue to thrive is that they have plans in force and it was backed by life insurance so that it would be perpetual. And that's what I talk to business owners about and show them how we can make sure that their business will continue to thrive.
That's absolutely powerful. Having a business to thrive, even after the founder, the visionary, the CEO's transition, or whomever that had a very key role in that company. And that's how we keep our businesses thriving and alive. I do want to pause and give another shout out to Miss Shauna Turner. She is tuning in from the Virginia area. She has dropped her business website. Check it out. It's hrmass.org. And then also in the Facebook feed, Miss Angelina, she dropped her Amazon link. You definitely want to check out her book. She is doing great things in the Texas area. And once again, Miss Esther from the Florida area, we thank you for popping in. Follow her page as well. So, I know we have about 7 more minutes, and we want to do some more conversation over the next 7 minutes about life insurance and how we can use this to build up our families. Talk a little bit more about how life insurance can be used to pass on legacy. I know we touched on that word legacy. What does that mean to you, and how can life insurance be used to pass on legacy to the next generation?
Well, the proceeds of life insurance, it passes on income tax free. No matter what the size of the death benefit, it goes to your beneficiaries income tax free. And I know that here in the United States, the primary community, they have 8 to 10 times more wealth than we have. And I always say the great equalizer is life insurance. And we need to start looking at that more instead of these 25, 50, $100,000 policies. We need to expand on that and make those policies $1 million to $5 million. Again, when we're not around, we're passing on all of that to our heirs, income tax free. And not only just the money, but while we are here, we want to pass on the knowledge to them, because that's where it all happens. It has to come from up here. And once you get that, no one can take that away from you. And once we start thinking that way, we will close that generational wealth gap. So again, I preach building wealth, creating legacies, because we can build that wealth while we are still here. And while we are still here, we can protect it by you taking advantage of the cash in there, because you can access it income tax free, and the wealthy is quite aware of that, and they use it very well. And again, I mentioned earlier about becoming your own bank, and it's easier to do that than we think. I show people how to use the equity inside of the home. Do not leave it in those walls, because that is only making the bank wealthy. I show people how, let's start taking that equity outside of the walls of the home so that we can create another bucket of money. And that's how we create wealth while we are still here. And again, that's a conversation for another time, because there's a wealth of knowledge doing that. And the wealthy, they are aware of it and they use it to their advantage. And I want to show and teach you how we can use the same concepts to our advantage as well.
Absolutely. Listen, for those that have been tuning in, I'm going to have Dr. Leroy to say some words again as well. But for those that have been tuning in now, those that have been, interacting with us on Facebook, those that you may see it later, the link might be shared to you. Next week, Mr. Taylor and myself, we would love to follow up with you one-on-one, to set up some individual meetups. We can do it via Zoom. And then in the month of June, we are going to have this is a surprise, Mr. Taylor, we didn't even talk about it. But in June, we're going to have do some meetups and with individuals that are business owners that would like to talk about some of those more complex situations, such as you mentioned on today, as far as the key person, and then families that have money in their home, the equity, how do you move that around? So we're going to be doing some of those things in person in June, but in the balance of this month, all of next week is a life insurance pep rally. We're gonna call it the life insurance pep rally week next week, and we would love to schedule follow-ups with you, your family, and your businesses. Mr. Taylor, definitely feel free to share whatever contact information you have. And of course, reach out to me. My email is ct@katherinetrotter.com. My website is simply my first and last name as well, katherinetrotter.com. We would love to connect with you. We would love to build with you and help you continue to create that wealth. Dr. Leroy, any closing words?
Yeah, I'll say this, and Mr. Taylor gave us not just a wealth building system, but a wealth building strategy.
Mm.
And if y'all, anybody that's listen to me, I'm about processes, systems, and strategies. Because when we are able to have those systems, processes, and strategies in place, we have the ability to be able to be as successful as we need to be and want to be. But you can't do it if you don't have these conversations. So I love that. Putting together, and y'all know my mantra for this year, it's building season. It's building season. So part of that building season for you is having a wealth building system in place, having a wealth building strategy. And that's what Catherine will do. That's what Mr. Taylor will do. That is what they do. They will assist you in being able to put that system, put that strategy, put that process in place for you so that you can build your legacy, you can build your big, grow your business, and even have even so that your business can live beyond you. So I'll leave it with that, Catherine.
Absolutely. Mr. Taylor, final words and any contact information you would like to share.
Yes, and Dr. McKenzie, it's a pleasure meeting you today, and I'm glad you used the word systems because that's what we do, and I always like to mention to people systems. We are built on systems, and I always use McDonald's. I said you can walk into any McDonald's in the world, they are built the same.
Yep.
Systems. Fries on the left, you will not see any McDonald's not like the other McDonald's. So the wealth building and strategies are geared towards systems, and we just want to make those systems available to you. And Catherine, anyone can get to me through you. So it's a pleasure being on here today, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we thank everybody. We thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, co-host Dr. Leroy McKenzie. Again, next week is going to be our life insurance pep rally. We're going to get excited about life insurance, and we're going to be setting up one-on-one Zooms with individuals, their families, and their businesses. If you would like to be a part of that pep rally, we say pep rally because it should be an exciting time to make sure you're putting a wealth system in place for your family, your community, your business. So next week is going to be a very exciting time. So connect, send me an email, ct@catherinetrotter.com, and then we can set up those Zoom meetings and just continue to build wealth in our family, our businesses, and in our community. And with that being said, I'm always going to say it at the end that I'm going to see you at the top because the top is where we're going. And everyone have a blessed day.